Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boys Rob and John, and we are going to be tackling a very polarizing topic today. Uh, it's one that has been going on for many years. We're talking about Sakura Haruno. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Harano or Haruno?
You know something? I want to say it's Hirono, but at the same time, I want to say I think in the anime it's Hirano. I want to say,
Well, you guys know who we're talking about.
yeah, you got the
that
point.
that's the main point. So to give you guys a real background, this has been a very interesting discussion in our group, Ascended Nerd Universe, and even in All Nerd Everything. And it's kind of been a thing of where predominantly the point of view has been that Sakura is useless, right? And then there's one day, I don't remember when it was, but I know multiple times this has happened where you have come in and offered a different point of view. And as time has gone on, just being honest to the audience, I have taken on thinking about things differently and actually see exactly what John is talking about. But before we get into exactly what his point of view is, because I mean, clearly you guys know where this is going, I want to give John the floor and really dig into the character of Sakura, um, where she comes from, who she is, and why John kind of has his point of view and what his point of view is and why he has that point of view, and just really dig into the character about how we've come to see her, why there's a misconception. Like we're just really trying to tackle her as a character to get to the point of really answering, is she useless? Um, so John, I give the floor to you, but I want to ask you, who is Sakura to you? Who is Sakura? Haruno. Who is Sakura to you?
So yeah, no, that is once again, appreciate you setting it up this way. And when someone asks me, what is Sakura to me in terms of Naruto, I like to look at her as just your average everyday ninja. She represents the majority that is in Naruto that we don't necessarily get to see from a story writing aspect. And I think because we're so used to seeing this micro of these small amount of genin who come from these awesome families with these great lineages within Konoha, that we kind of confuse Sakura's character sometimes and thinks that she is equally on that level, when in reality, no, she's not a representation of that micro. She represents your average ninja in the village hidden in the leaves, who has now taken the opportunity to go through the academy. And because of her not necessarily physical abilities, because of her actual genius within itself, she's extremely book smart. We She knows those ninja tenets by heart. We saw her express that early in the Zabuza arc, that she just represents the average ninja. She doesn't come from anything special. Her parents, believe it or not, actually weren't even a part of Kishimoto's original planning for the manga. The only reason why she even has parents in the show is because he wanted to write parents for her in the movie Road to Ninja. Even though they're designed by Kishimoto, they really weren't actually planned in the manga whatsoever. She is really just your you're walking around the Leaf Village. She's just your average ninja that just so happened to be put among the elite. And I think the rest of the interview will kind of get into the meat of it, but she was able to not only hang with the elite, make a path for herself, and also show the development of what an average ninja looks like, in comparison to some other ninja who come from awesome elite families.
Okay. So you dipped into something very interesting that I want to kind of get into, which is the regular person versus an elite. So
Mhm.
let's break down what you mean by a regular ninja versus someone that is elite, and so we can get into essentially her, her placement, on Team Seven, just all of
Mhm.
that. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
break that down
So
for us.
yeah, absolutely. So when we're looking at the story of Naruto, right? We get to see it from the eyes of Naruto Uzumaki and then the Arthur shows us a little bit more of the macro of the world. But in reality, he kind of keeps that scope on Naruto, Sasuke, and then the other seven Guinean as well too. And in those particular Guinean, when you look at their last names, they come from the Uchiha family, the Yamanaka family, Yakamichi family, the Nara family. These are, when you look at Naruto and the village. I'm sorry, when you look at the story of Naruto and you look at the village hitting the leaves, those are the elite families in the village. Those are some of the founding families in the village, and they all possess family jutsu, something that is unique to their family or something that their family does uniquely, and that's passed down to these Genin here, versus your average ninja in the village hidden leagues that we don't get to see too much. I'm not sure if this is ever shown in the TV show, but in the manga, when they're taking that tuning interest exam, it's not just those nine Guinea from the village hidden in the leaves. There are also, I want to say, either 83 or 87 other Guinea part of that as well too,
Hmm.
who are just from the village hidden in the leaves. So we know for a fact that outside of these seven, or I'm sorry, nine Guinea, that there are just your average run of the mill Guinea who got shipped out to other Jonin, and that they're also going to be going through this process as well too. And when I say elite versus average, it's not just the family jutsu, it's also what their capabilities are as well too. You have some ninja in the village and also in the around the world of Naruto, they have great taijutsu skills, and they might be only able to master maybe one nature transformation,
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
one nature transformation at all. We see that Funjutsu using weapons is actually pretty heavily relied on within the Naruto world, especially for ninja who don't necessarily have these amazing abilities. They have nature transformations, or even have a Kekkei Genkai, or even ninjutsu within itself.
Hmm.
And you just have these ninja who may only have one nature transformation, or they can only use funjutsu. I think another really great example of that average ninja is if you look at someone like a Ruka Sensei. He not only was he a chunin, but he didn't really have anything special about him. We didn't really see him use any nature transformations. He were able to use the basic things that ninjas can do, like substitution, art of the illusion. He was able to use his ninja mind, strategies and tactics, but there really wasn't anything special about him that would have made him someone like a Kakashi, who not only had an amazing father
Hmm.
as well too, but he became a chunin, I believe, at 5, maybe
Was that?
6 years
It was
old.
a young age. Yeah.
Very young age, and it's obvious that not only did Kakashi have even though we don't know a lot about the Hatake clan and much outside of his father, the White Fang, and his ninja prowess, and what he was able to leave a legacy behind,
Hmm.
whether you look at that legacy as good or bad. Kakashi inherited something from his father, and that was genetics, talent, skill, and we see why he's where he's at. So that's that distinction I like to break down when you think about the ninja in Konoha. You have the elite, and then you have average people walking around who pick the ninja career, and they may not have all the abilities, but if they can master the strategies and show they have the mindset of a ninja and can keep up with taijutsu, funjutsu, and some of the basic skills, they can excel at the tuning. And then, even still, you have a couple Jonin at that level as well too, who are not necessarily uh Jonin that will go out on missions, but Jonin that are considered special Jonin
Right.
that would help train. And one of the best examples is that is Ibiki, who kind of helped Naruto a little bit when Kakashi was helping Sasuke during the Chunin exam. So, I hope that kind of makes a distinction, from what people look at as elite ninja versus average ninja.
Hmm. Okay. So with that in mind, we know, and because we've talked about this in the last podcast, and if
Mhm.
anybody needs a reference, go listen to the last podcast that we did on the third Hokage, essentially kind of doing a breakdown on him and his involvement with everything dealing with the leaf, and if he was a successful Hokage or not, and what was misunderstood about him. But part of that conversation, we got into the specific bloodline of Sasuke and Naruto, and really got onto the surface level of Sakura being on that team.
Mhm.
So for you, and from your studying and how you see the manga and the anime, why
Mhm.
do you feel like she was selected for Team Seven. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, just go ahead. You seem real excited to get into it, but why do you feel like she was selected? I mean, because on surface level, in just giving that perspective of someone who had this, perspective prior to this conversation and prior to the conversations that we had, it seems like she was kind of misplaced. You
Hmm.
have these two kids that, come from certain bloodlines. One has a very special eye prowess and, a need for revenge. You got this other kid that we didn't know much about, but we know that he has huge chakra reserves and has the fox inside him, gives him another access to another set of chakra, and just seems to evolve heavily as time goes on, and just has a will that, seemingly cannot be broken. And then you have this girl that, we're told, has a really good base for chakra control and is really decent in, genjutsu, but we just don't ever seemingly see her come into her own, particularly in the first part of Naruto. So
Hmm.
from, and that's just like I said, surface level. But when you get into the bird's eye of things, can you break down to us from your perspective why she was selected for Team Seven, why she was such a good fit, and what she excelled with on her team, even though it may seem like to the viewer that she did not. Hope that's not too
Yeah.
much.
No, no, that's not too much at all. You actually already said some things that I wanted to hit on in this part. That very first part where you said it seems like a mismatch, that is exactly what her purpose is within that team. It's not supposed to be a match. It actually is supposed to be a mismatch. And the way I interpret that is not only just how the story is meant to be read, but like you said earlier, you have the last Uchiha on this team, and then you have the son of the former Hokage who has this amazing bloodline, being part Uzumaki, part Namikaze. Then on top of that, he has the Fox in there inside of him as well too. And then on top of that, you have a Jonin who is the elite of the elite. Chunin by age 4, 5, 6, Ambu when he was a teenager. And that the only reason he's even leading this team is because the third Hokage wants to give him a reason to actually live outside of just being an Ambu and going out on suicide missions. Sakura's position on this team, I like to say, is the balance. Going back to what I said earlier, we have a microscope on this particular set of Genin, right? The team under Asuma is the Inoshika Show trio. So she couldn't fit in there
Right.
because there's a specific need for that team, right?
Hmm.
Then on Kumrai's team, that's the sensory team. You have Kiba with his nose, Shino with his bugs, who also has a really great fighting ability as well too.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then you have the princess of the Hyuga, Hinata, who has also an amazing eye prowess as well, who's also a really good sensory ninja.
Hmm.
So she doesn't fit in there. But then you have this team, this team of loners essentially, and you have this one particular average Guinea who doesn't have a lot of physical ability, but what she did have that, and it's portrayed more through the tuning exam art. Sakura was extremely intelligent.
Hmm.
She in the way it's implied in the manga is that not only was she a plus student, she understood ninja strategy on paper. She understood the ninja tenets. So I don't feel like she tested in a group that would have put her with the other ninja. So now that you have this one outlier, where do you put her at? Well, you put her on Team Seven because that's the only team that, even though it's a mismatch, where she actually fits. Because she wasn't on that team, and let's just say the story stayed focused on Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke.
Hmm.
I think it gives the reader this very weird like vibe that, wow, these ninja really progress really fast, and
Right.
that they unlock these abilities really quick. And I think Sakura is there to round out and balance out Naruto and Sasuke. And the reason why I say that is because look at all of the other teams going into the tuning exams.
Hmm.
Even though we were introduced to, for example, the Sanguine, like Gara, Kankuro, and Tamari, we thought they were really strong, right? And they
Right.
were in their own right. But you know what's very interesting is that when you meet Kabuto and they're all in that room together and he pulls out those cards, the only team out of all of those teams that have went on an A rank mission, even though it was by accident, survived that A rank mission and came back to tell about it was Team Seven.
That's very true.
With Team Seven. That's it. They're the only ones that went on an A rank mission. And during that A rank mission, what's so interesting is that, of course, with the amount of talent that Naruto and Sasuke have, of course they were going to stand out. They're in a dire situation, and that's what people do who have talent. They're going to stand out in those situations. We saw with Naruto coming up with that plan with the Demon Wind Shuriken. We saw with Sasuke unlocking his Sharingan ability. But something that is very interesting, that where I say the balance comes in at, is that Sakura in that entire situation was behaving the way you expect a Genin to behave. The way Naruto and Sasuke and the amount of ability that they shown, even though they didn't have the strategy and paperwork down, as far as ability and strength, they were already operating at a tuning level, which that was in the very first part of the story. They had no issues not only taking on Haku outside of the fact that they were fighting somebody who was around their, if not stronger than them, but they struggled around ninja concepts like actually finishing off a person. Do they have the ability to kill? Do they have the ability to do what's needed to do, right? Sakura, on the other hand, she stayed in her manji form, that she followed every instruction, and she didn't pity herself at any point in time throughout that arc. I think one of the most revealing time periods in that arc to kind of give you an idea of where Sakura is at is when as after the first encounter with Zabuza, and Kakashi needs to heal, and they have that 7 day window open where Naruto and Sasuke are learning to control their chakra.
Hmm.
Sakura had already surpassed that training, but
That's true.
she already surpassed that training. But like you said earlier, they pointed out that she has a talent for genjutsu and chakra control, right?
Hmm.
I believe that idea of her having talent in that area and looking at what Naruto and Sasuke can do completely supersedes what the actual expectation was. And Kakashi in one panel laminates it really, really well. Sakura had maxed out her potential at that point in time of what he can train her to do in 7 days. She does not have the chakra pool like Naruto. She
Hmm.
doesn't have the chakra pool like Sasuke. There are no other tricks or tips that are going to come out in that little bit of window to make her any better than the person that she already was at that point in time.
Okay, that's
She
fair. That's fair.
she was maxed out as a guinea. And what I mean by maxed out, there was nothing Kakashi could teach her in 7 days with the amount of skill and ability that she had. And he says it. Uh, Sakura has a talent for chakra control, but Naruto and Sasuke's potential far exceeds her talent.
Hmm.
And it was true. We saw that happen. So I feel like she's put there to really keep the reader focused that these ninja are not average. You're not talking about your average three-man cell. She's on the team with the elite. And on top of being on the team with the elite, she has to catch up. She has to figure out a way to stay useful and purposeful within these moments. And the best way for her to stay useful and purposeful in those moments when she is so outclassed by Zabuza and Haku and what they can do versus what she can do is by following her orders,
Yeah.
protecting protecting. I want to say his name was Tasna, the bridge builder, protecting him, not crying. It's not like we saw her boo-hooing and weeping at every single manga panel. No, she stood by what she did. And during that fight, even though she was the one protecting the bridge builder, what really got Kakashi hurt was not necessarily protecting Sakura. He was so concerned about what was happening to Naruto and Sasuke in that crystal ice mirror dome. He was so concerned about those students. I think there was a part of Sakura not really being a threat and the fact that she can only be a Genin in this moment that brought him a little bit of relief. And his mind immediately went towards the Genin that were fighting
Mm,
with only their potential and not that much training
mm,
outside of being able to control their chakra. And I feel like that's where she needed to be. She needed to be that counterbalance to keep the reader grounded in reality that, hold on, they are way above their heads. They are so far above their heads. And that pays off, I'm sorry, right when we meet Kawata and we see those cards. They're the only team that completed the A rank mission. Gara and his squad completed one B rank mission, and the rest of those Guinean only had C and lower. So not only did she survive this A rank mission, she came back from that A-rank mission with more resolve to get stronger and do better and not be a burden to her team. It didn't take hundreds of chapters for Sakura to have this realization that she's going to turn into a burden. I think the moment they stepped out of those gates and they got attacked by those demon twins, the
Yeah.
brothers, I'm sorry, I think she already knew now that she's gonna have to fight to stay caught up. She acknowledged Naruto's strength and ability very early on in the series. It wasn't like something that came way later.
Hmm.
She saw that, and I think the only thing that was holding her back was that there was no training for her at that point in time. There was no Lady Tsunade in the village. Kakashi was still very new. And on top of that, I don't think there was anything that Kakashi, outside of being a better ninja, could have taught her ability wise, because the only thing that she had going for herself was she could control chakra really well, but she doesn't have a huge chakra pool. And on top of that, she has a somewhat knack for talent. So she is the balance in that team. She is the balance that lets you know that that Sasuke and Naruto are progressing at a very unreal rate, but she's also the average ninja, and that she's going to have the resolve to stay caught up. That's why sometimes I say I think she portrays Naruto's values that he preaches so hard in the story the best. If you kind of put your mind to it.
Mm. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Where do we go from here? Because you said a lot. Um, she's on Team Seven.
Hmm.
She's keeping up, but not keeping up with
Hmm.
her teammates because you made a really good point that I've never thought about until you just said it on this podcast. But the fact that Kakashi could not teach her anything in the moment leading up to that final battle on the bridge.
Hmm.
Naruto and Sasuke, they needed to push themselves because she was already at the point where she could use her chakra correctly to walk up the tree. you
Yep, she
know,
was already, yeah.
like she was already good. So there was literally nothing else to teach her. Um, and so like I said, I just never ever thought about it like that when watching it. I mean, because it's true, like it's really blatantly right in front of us. And I forget exactly what she was doing during that time, but she wasn't going to have to do what they did because she was already doing it. And then, of course, Naruto had to take it a step further. And, remember when he was pretending that he was going to fall and she was like, oh my God. And then, then he actually fell, I think. And then
Yeah.
Sasuke had to, kind of save him. But, that
Hmm.
was funny. But, like, even thinking back to the battle, I forget, I don't know if we had that discussion on the podcast or if this was just something that was separate from the podcast. But I remember you were saying, because you mentioned it about the fact that she just followed orders, like that was what like she needed to do in that moment, and
Hmm.
like really breaking that moment down. You know, we were discussing. I remember saying like those other two, like they just kind of got caught up in the heat of battle and just like really went out there. Now, mind you, Haku had had a death wish and was kind of wanting to fight them, and kind of had it was like a weird relationship because it's like Haku didn't necessarily want to kill Naruto and
Hmm.
Sasuke, but at the same time, like if Zabuza said it, it was kind of going to happen. But Zabuza even came out and said like Haku kind of like had a special place in his heart for you guys. Um, but even
Hmm.
in that moment, just thinking about it, like you're right. Like think about it from a team perspective. If everybody is going out doing the same thing that's leading to a disaster in that way, where you have to kind of rely on blind luck, you're going to be doomed for something to happen. Now, let's say, and we're kind of theorizing and getting into headcanon space here. But let's say
Hmm.
she did leave the people exposed that she was supposed to be protecting as just a body. Because let's be honest, like if she moves from that spot, or if somebody comes and tries to get her, there's not much that she can do. Because even we know Kakashi was likely going to have to try to protect her, and Lord knows what she would have done. But let's say that she
Hmm.
did try to do something, it just would have made things worse. And I think
Yep.
we as the audience, we have to acknowledge that fact that when there is somebody who essentially does not have the talent, does not have the power, does not have the necessary skill to handle that particular situation, because let's call a spade from a genjutsu perspective, she was not going to out genjutsu anybody there that was
No.
at the higher level. So like what was she going to do? She can't really It doesn't have the chakra pool to like create clones and do too much of a distraction because then she depletes herself and then she's out of the fight, that
Mm.
quickly. She doesn't have the confidence and definitely does not have the experience. Now, mind you, neither does Sasuke and Naruto, but they're more bullheaded in a sense of putting their lives on a line more so in illogical way in a sense, but for
Yeah.
entertainment purposes, this has to happen. She's more realistic in the fact of I'm gonna stay put. But I think saying all that to say, us as the audience, we have to acknowledge that what she did was the right choice. Point blank, period. If she'd have done anything else from a writing perspective, even though, like I said, this is all, fictional, but from a writing perspective, you would have had to have some sort of disaster happen if she would have chose to act during that time.
Hmm.
And like I said, I just think that we as the audience, we have to get to that point of acknowledging that and not hold it over her head that she did not do anything but essentially follow orders.
And I
So,
think it's hard for the audience, and this is not me trying to be too nitpicky, but I also feel that when you're let's just say you've only watched Naruto, right?
mhm,
I can't fault you for thinking that because the anime does kind of do this weird thing where it skips over very important dialogue that is not necessarily passive in the manga, but it really does add a lot more context to what is going on in these scenes with her. And I had to go back to make sure I wasn't tripping. I'm like, am I reading things in the manga that they did say in the anime, or am I reading things in the manga and some of these panels were skipped over?
mhm,
And I
mhm,
go back and I watch some of these episodes. I'm like, oh, these were skipped over. Like they didn't really add context that not only did she have talent with genjutsu and chakra control, but her talent was also maxed when Naruto. I'm sorry, when Kakashi noticed that as well too, and that she didn't have the chakra pool to stay up all night like those two did practicing trying to get to the top of a tree. She literally was maxed out. So yeah, no, I do think when you're watching the anime versus reading, it does kind of have a tendency to portray her in a way that it's not in the best light. So I don't fault anybody who's only watched the anime to think that she's useless in these situations. When in reality, she's not useless. It's just the situations that she's in this early stage of the anime is far above any of their heads, and
mhm.
that the only reason that Naruto and Sasuke are thriving is because when the chips are down, Sasuke activated his Sharingan. When the chips are down, not only did Naruto get his injuries healed, he had a fox. If
Yeah,
Sakura would have acted and she would have got to that almost death point, there was nothing that was going to activate inside of her or come around that was going to allow her to live through that situation.
correct. No, and you're right. And from a writing perspective, I'm glad that Kishimoto kind of stayed honest to that because
Mhm.
you wanna be involved in a series in a manga that's going to kind of stay true to certain things and have a balance. So, like you said, Sasuke got pushed to the point where he activated the Sharingan for the first time. Naruto was able to dip into the Fox chakra that essentially pushed the pins out of his skin and healed the wounds that he had and had him come with this enormous burst of power. That was actually for me when I watched it for the first time that really got me like, oh my god, like this is what I came to see. Moment, like I was like, yo, this is lit. I wasn't saying lit at the time, but I was definitely like, this is
Mhm.
crazy. So
Yeah,
but go ahead. What was you about to say?
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, no, it is true. It's like you are getting hyped off of these moments with Naruto and Sasuke because they're only already getting pushed to the limits, but they're relying on things that they may not have naturally had access to if they were just steady doing D and C rank missions.
Right.
It took them to do an A rank mission for all of that for them to come out. And when they are doing missions at their level, it's Naruto who is behind everybody. He has an issue, probably due to his knuckleheadedness, of course, doing the lower rank missions. And like he said right before the tuning exam, that it's always Naruto. I'm sorry, it's always Sasuke and Sakura, showing him up in these missions. And that's because I think not only is Sasuke talented, but Sakura, who's just average, is just progressing at the rate of an average ninja who also can excel as well too. And I think you get to see her at her best is actually in the Forest of Death, a little bit after the tuning exam starts. I think that's where you do get to see a maxed out Sakura with all the talent that she has.
Hmm.
It's super overlooked, but she pulled off a. Not only did she pull off a substitution jutsu,
Hmm.
she pulled
Hmm.
off a illusion jutsu. She did all of the things that you would expect a Guinean of her level and talent of where she comes from can do, and for somebody who has good chakra control as well too. Because to pull off a substitution jutsu and an illusion jutsu, you have to have good chakra control.
And you're
It's
talking
something.
about specifically when she was going up against the Sound Ninja?
Yep, when she was going
Okay.
against the Sound Ninja, she was tasked with essentially. I don't think Naruto had made it there just yet. I think he was having his own battle against Orochimaru, who was still kind of hiding at that point in time,
Yeah.
and she was looking over Sasuke's body.
Right. Okay.
And no matter how anyone plays that scene off, and I'm not gonna go on a long tangent about it, but first off, none of those Genin who are in the Forest of Death, based off what Kishimoto presented in the early parts of the story and the evidence that we see, shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Right. Right.
It's very unprecedented for rookies to even be allowed to take the tuning exam, even though you do have to have 8 missions minimum required to take it. And on top of that, they were going against Ninja who had already been in the field. They had already been doing some of
Yeah.
this.
That's
And
true.
they've been in the field already, you know? And she was able to do she didn't drop the ball. When it was time for her to have the ball in her court with a Naruto who's missing and a down Sasuke, she did it against Ninja who had ability, who were well above, not I wouldn't say necessarily, well, yeah, they were well above her skill level and they were coordinated. And in that same amount of time frame, not only did we saw so much growth, we saw that she can use these ninjas abilities. She threw them off, and then when she got captured, everything that all of these superficial things about Sakura that gets built up early, she's beautiful, her long hair, and all of these things, she was able to shed that away because I believe her desire to not be useless and her desire to also be the one that, like how she expressed at the end of Shippuden, at one point it's going to be Naruto and Sasuke looking at my back, even though she was never, because of the what Sasuke and Naruto had inside of them,
Hmm.
she was never going to necessarily catch up to them. She did show that she had the ability and she deserved to be there. She kept Sasuke protected. She held out long enough until help got there in the form of Rock Lee and the other Genin, who also, in their own way, struggled against those three sound ninja as well too. Rock Lee just didn't run in there like he was a savior. He ran in there. Yeah, he was able to get off a hidden lotus, but it didn't work because of the abilities of in the coordination of the sound ninja. He
Hmm.
failed at it. Then you had Neji and his team kind of just, the rest of them just kind of hiding in the bushes. Then you had the full Inoshika Show trio show up as well too. And this is all after Sakura had to essentially hold off these other three ninja by herself for X amount of time. And she was able to do that. And through the tuning exams, because they were so young, they were never going to do what Shikamaru did, who had this, even, even without his ability, his mind as a ninja was so far ahead of where they were at. And he was able to hit not only the physical abilities needed to be a tuning, but the mental abilities to be a tuning. We did see Sakura overcome her own challenges as well, too. Even though it's not really hit upon a lot, that was a big thing for Sakura. And
Oh
she
yeah.
needed to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
over, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
big for her.
Yeah.
That's her own battle. She had to fight through that, and she was able to do that. And she was able to, even though it didn't end in a win for either one of them, she held her own
And earn
against
Eno's
somebody.
respect. Yes.
It earned the respect. She held her own in that fight, earned Eno's respect, and then that's the downhill movement to her becoming who we see her as in Shippuden. If you remove the filler from Naruto and you look at the winding down of this section coming after the tuning exams, the only thing that you really have left for her after this is the Sasuke retrieval arc. And
Hmm.
I know that arc gets portrayed a little differently, but there is a very big self-awareness level that the manga has with these individuals that I don't think is portrayed well in the anime. If you're watching it directly through the anime, this love story seems so one-sided and it doesn't even seem like the other person is aware or knowing, versus in the manga everybody knows that Sakura is obsessed with Sasuke, the same way Ino that we saw during the tuning exams in the early stages is also obsessed with Sasuke.
Right.
She just didn't end up on Sasuke's team.
Hmm.
Kakashi is very well aware that Sakura is in love with Sasuke. Sasuke is very well aware that Sakura is in love with Sasuke. So it's not like this weird, unrequited kind of thing. In my opinion, the only difference between Sakura's obsession with Sasuke and Hinata's obsession with Naruto is that Hinata's not on the same team as Naruto and she's shy.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
she and Sakura, in my opinion, are very similar, except that Hinata gets a pass because she's shy and she's not on the same team
Yeah, they
as
were kind
Naruto.
of two sides of the same coin because
Mhm,
if you put a more aggressive personality in Hinata, like
mhm.
you have a catastrophe.
Yeah, no, you do. You really do. She was obsessed with Naruto,
Yeah.
and I don't fault any reader for picking up on misconceptions because I'll admit here, even though that I'm able to talk about Sakura and kind of shed light on some areas, Kishimoto does not write love stories really well.
Right.
That's not his thing.
Right. Right.
He it's not his thing. We just have to accept that when these stories start, Hinata loves Naruto, Sakura loves Sasuke, and we just have to accept it. And then we get nitpick things in the past to kind of maybe kind of wrap these together and kind of help you, see where it's coming from. But no, she's your average teenage girl who has a boy obsession, and for not coming from a ninja family, she worked really hard to make herself worthy of not only making it with the elite ninja, but also getting through the academy as well too. Like I know love is a powerful drug, but man, that powered her all the way through the academy with some of the best test scores. So I feel like during that Sasuke retrieval arc, we see this scene of Sakura begging Sasuke not to go, which is no different than Naruto telling Sasuke not to go if that was Naruto in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No.
no different. It's no different. What we are not seeing, I feel, is that it's not just Team Seven. This team has formed a bond and a family together. They have gone through pretty much. They've been traumatized already as Guinea by going against Zabuza. That's if I'm just a Guinea, that's not where I want to start my career off at. It's fighting against Zabuza. It's not how I want to start off my Guinea career. But they went through that challenge together. They had to rely on each other. It was Sakura who taught them how to control their chakra, and then it was Sasuke who had to humbly ask Naruto, what did Sakura say to him to help him control his chakra? They had to go through all of that. They had to go through the forest of death that was invaded with Sound Ninja and Sand Ninja who were not there to play fair, and then she had to overcome her challenge and all while trying to keep herself relevant and not a burden to the rest of her team. And then during this little period of downtime where now the village is kind of creeping back to normalcy after the invasion, now you got the Sasuke retrieval part of it.
Hmm.
And during this part, we Sakura tried her best to not only keep her love for Sasuke, but to also hold that team together as well too. She threw herself in between Naruto and Sasuke. I don't think it's she's given enough credit. She loved both of them. And
Hmm.
she loved Naruto like a brother. She loved Sasuke as somebody she wanted to be with. And the last thing I think a female wants to see is her brother and the person that she loves getting into a fight. And
Yeah.
that's why she threw herself in between both of them. And she's also very self-aware. She could not go in the Sasuke retrieval arc. She didn't have the strength for that. She would have been washed by any of
Oh
those
yeah.
sound ninja
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
easily. That
Especially
was
with the curse mark on them.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
There was nowhere for her to fit on that team.
Yeah.
You're Naruto Uzumaki, Shikamaru Nara, Kiba, Neji, Choji. There's what ability does she have? And all of them almost lost their lives.
Right. They were
And they had
pushed
to
to their
call
limits. Yeah, they were.
far limits. And then they had to send in two types of backup from the Sand Village, and they had to send in Mike Guy's team, who has more experience than them. So there was nowhere for her to fit in that Sasuke retrieval arc. So I feel like her development in Naruto it stops with the tuning exams in the invasion arc because there's nothing left for her to develop at that point in time. And I feel like where we see her really coming to her own at is when she makes those concessions within herself that she does not have the ability to bring Sasuke home, not the same way Naruto does. That's why she relies on Naruto so much, and that the only way she's going to stay relevant in this picture, she has to figure it out. She literally has to figure it out. And her way of figuring it out after the Sasuke retrieval arc, after we saw before that Naruto bringing Tsunade home with Jiraiya, is humbling herself and doing the only thing that she could do with her talent is what we see in Shippuden. Her becoming a student under Tsunade. That's the one thing that she can do with her talent. Because to become a medical ninja, you have to have amazing chakra control.
Hmm.
And it will make sense for someone like Sakura and Ino to try to take those apprenticeships on. But I feel like the reason why we see Sakura out not only surpassing Ino is because A, she doesn't have any other talent outside of being able to control her chakra, and that moment was made for her. That's going to be her moment, and I believe that she truly lives up to that task. And we see it in Shippuden.
Yeah.
When we catch up with Sakura in Shippuden, she's a Chunin at this point in time. She has not been out surpassed by any of her fellow other Guinean. She is now a Chunin. Neji, of course, is where he should be at because of the abilities that he had, but she's right in line with everyone else. And then, and it's going to lead me to another controversial topic in the early parts of Shippuden. But I do not understand where this narrative comes from that people thought that Lady Chio was the only reason that they were able to beat Sasori, who was probably one of the strongest Akatsuki members. She didn't get some petty Akatsuki fight. She actually got tasked with taking out one of the deadlier members of the
Oh yeah,
Akatsuki and probably
absolutely.
one of the most beautiful fights in Naruto. I know recently they did this poll about best fights in Naruto, and people were like, wow, the Sakura fans are out. You don't have to be a Sakura fan to recognize how insane that fight was for somebody with no abilities
Yeah,
except Third. That fight,
yeah,
man, brother, that fight was wild.
and it was
And
very people like and just being fair. Like I said, I you went you had to see the growth in Sakura at that moment. And if you don't, you're
Mhm.
kind of lying to yourself because she went from someone that just followed orders. She went from someone who people felt like just stayed on the sidelines and cried and begged for Naruto to, do stuff. Now she's taking more initiative. Now she's actually putting herself on the battlefield and being very active. And yeah, she didn't have every answer, but she was very effective against Sasori, sorry, and
Mhm.
really aiding. He said Lady Chiho. Is that her
Yeah,
name?
Lady Chio. Yep.
Aiding her in defeating Sasori, which was a huge feat because he was, a very deadly puppet ninja. To the point where his body in essence was a puppet.
Here's a quick little reminder for everybody who is confused about this section. This is what Sakura had to deal with. And here's a little fun fact. When Itachi's clone showed up on the battlefield and Naruto got caught in that genjutsu, you know who didn't get caught in that genjutsu?
Was
Sakura.
Sakura.
Anyway, moving on. so,
No, but hold
so
up, yeah, you said Itachi, yeah, Orochimaru when the third got killed,
oh
she
yeah,
she didn't fall under it either at that point.
no, they actually relied on her because she did have a talent.
Yeah,
So here we are in Shippuden. We learn that she has become the student of Asani, Lady Tsunade, keeping in step with Naruto, who's under Jiraiya, Sasuke, who went and sought out Orochimaru. She has amazing abilities as a medical ninja, so amazing that Tsunade, instead of sending her actual apprentice, man, I cannot think of her name off the top of
I know
my
you're
head.
talking about. I know you're talking
Um,
about.
it's Don's relative, but instead of sending her, she sent Sakura. And then on top of that, when Sakura was there creating not only the antidotes, even Lady Chio, who was an amazing medical ninja herself, who was considered the rival of Tsunade, acknowledged how intelligent and how talented she was. She was able to make a antidote for
Yep.
Kankuro that Lady Chiyo was not able to make.
Yeah.
Her name was Shizune, by the way. The other apprentice under Tsunade, for the people out there, her name is Shizune. But
Mm.
anyway, she sent Sakura to do that job. And Lady Chiyo acknowledged how strong and how well versed of a medical ninja she was. She was the star of that particular section of that arc. And then she got blessed with the best fight in the arc. Kakashi and Naruto were just straight up chasing down Datara that entire time. And the only reason they were able to chase down Datara that entire time was because Sakura and Chiyo were probably fighting the greatest fight in Naruto history. That look, Sasori was
You putting that
so
sauce on it
cold,
now.
bro. He was so cold, my man. Look. He started off as a puppet. They had to get past that. Everything he touched had poison on it.
Yeah.
That means that if they even got touched once, they had to use an antidote, right? And they had limited antidotes that worked, and they only could work for a certain amount of time. Then, when they finally get past that puppet, oh, they find out, oh, this man is living in another puppet's body, and he can control a Hokage as a puppet as
Yeah.
well too, who have full access to the Hokage's. I think it was the magnetic sand
Yep.
jutsu.
Yep. Yep.
They
His
have full
abilities.
access to that, bro. And then on top of that, they're talking. Oh, well, if it wasn't for Lady Chiyo. If it wasn't for Lady Chiyo, you mean if it wasn't for Sakura, who had the antidotes to even keep them alive in the first place, and it was her intelligence, planning, timing that not only allowed her to survive and Lady Chiyo, bro. I can hear the music in the background when he unleashed those what was like 1,000 puppets or whatever, and then Lady Chiyo had her 100 puppets, and then you had Sakura in the middle. That wasn't Lady Chiyo versus Sasori. That was Lady Chiyo, Sakura versus 1,000 individual puppets that was being controlled by Sasori, who can also spit out fire, high pressure water, had a scythe wrapped around his stomach, and an immortal body. You got to be playing with me talking about that wasn't the greatest fight in Naruto. That lady with help from Lady Chiyo was out there handing out straight fades to anything that came across her path, and as a ninja, for the most part, stayed untouched by any blades, willingly put herself in the line of fire, and on top of that, had two awesome moments. The moment when she threw that ceiling like shark jutsu to knock out Sasori's heart, and then bro, when she snatched that coil and she was timing it out to the poison, and she hit that man so hard that his heart came out. You cannot tell me that that was not ninja brilliance. She not only had to use her power and strength, it was all about timing. Like that fight had so much into it.
Yeah.
Poison, timing, multiple puppets. There was so much built into that fight. She kept not only herself alive, she kept Lady Chiyo alive, because if she couldn't keep herself alive or Lady Chiyo alive, we wouldn't have the Kaze Kage. He would be dead.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we would have had a Sasori who was able to escape, and we wouldn't have a Shippuden to talk about.
I'm not
So
sure that if they did not succeed, if there would have been anyone that could have really taken on Sasori at that point. Like just being
mm,
fair and honest, because like you could not just overpower him with just brute force necessarily, because
nope.
you have to deal with his poison, and his
Mm-hmm.
poison comes in many different forms. And if you happen to get past the poison, then you have to get past these other abilities of the other puppets that he has, like you said, the other Kage that he had access
Mm-hmm.
to, where he's using his abilities and whatnot. So it's definitely something that I was going to kind of ask you this, but you kind of sort of answered it already. But I was going to ask you, like, from your perspective, what do you think was Sakura's like coming out party? And it sounds like, without having me ask that question, that this moment for you was truly like her coming out party, like that she has arrived, I am here. Y'all are going to have to respect me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
100%. That no, that is 100%. That was her coming out party. That is her sweet 16, her quinceañera, or whatever you want to call it for her. That is her coming out party. She is letting the world know that I am Sakura. I am here. No Kakashi, no Naruto, no Sasuke. Just her and a ninja from a rival village.
yeah, and
and they made it work.
and that's the thing that people have to understand is that like, and I'm just like going off of memory. It's been a while since I've seen it because you had guys team working together. You
Mm-hmm.
had Naruto with Kakashi.
Mm-hmm.
Sakura was the only one that was misplaced with someone that she had never worked with before
Yep.
and made it work.
Yep.
So, I've pretty much seen enough. Like, and we haven't even gotten into her effectiveness on the battlefield as a healer. And I know that people kind of look down on people who are healers, but without healers, certain people don't stay alive. Like I was refreshing my memory with certain things that happened in the series, and one of the things that she did that was very pivotal in the war, among other things, because there's other things that she did, but this specific one, people have to give credit. There's two things that she did that was very critical during the war and during the last moments of Naruto. Is one, she kept Naruto alive enough to even have the encounter with the Sage of Six Paths, because
Mm-hmm.
she craftily was able to make an incision in Naruto and hand pump his heart that kept him alive.
Yep.
And without that, Naruto goes and meets his dad.
Exactly. No, that's true.
um,
Naruto was going to the upper room if that wasn't happening.
Yeah. The other thing is that without her last bit of assistance, where she had that power punch on Cayuga, is that how you pronounce her name? Cayuga?
Kaguya. Yep.
Yep, Cayuga. If she doesn't punch her in the head, they don't seal her. And 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 I was actually going through the panels of that earlier today. All of
Mm-hmm.
that was about timing. All of it was about timing. I didn't read far back enough to know exactly what she was doing in that moment, but I saw that Kakashi had basically cooked up a plan and they executed it meticulously. I didn't read past the point after the punch, but Naruto and Sasuke had their roles, and she came in with that last bit of punch, and it was. I mean, we're talking about timing in terms of like we can't even say seconds. Like it was happening so fast because Hyuga was trying to teleport out of there, and Kakashi did the what's it called? I don't want to mispronounce it, but when he sends stuff to the other dimension, he did it
Oh,
through a
you talking about
Shoryuken.
Kamui? Yeah, Kamui. Yeah.
Yeah, he did that, and then she was trying to like move, like something that he like did a lightning blade on her arm, and
Mm-hmm.
then she was like, "All right, well, I guess I ain't got nowhere else to go but up." And then she came down with that punch that helped Naruto and Sasuke do the sealing. So regardless of what people say, at that moment, I really feel like that was the perfect execution of why she was there on that team. And keep in mind, from a physical, like true, like just physicality standpoint, she was actually the most physically like strongest character on that team. Yes, Naruto and Sasuke had otherworldly abilities and the things that they were able to draw out in terms of their, chakra and ninjutsu, but
Mm-hmm.
from a true like physical standpoint, like her punch would like kill them if it connected. Like just like straight up. Like they're not seeing her in a battle of fist. um
Exactly. And in the process of that war as well too, is that she was able. So when you look at the signing and you look at their students, Naruto, of course, amazing genetics. Sasuke, of course, amazing genetics. Tsunade comes from amazing genetics. That is a granddaughter of the first Hokage
right.
who mixed with the Uzumaki bloodline. I know that's not touched on a lot with Tsunade in her bloodline, but that is mixed also with the Uzumaki bloodline as well too.
Hmm.
So Tsunade's chakra control, chakra pool, and the fact that out of all of the summons, it's not really hit on, and I believe it's only alluded to by Shizune. Katsuya, the healing slug, is actually the hardest of the freaking summons.
Hmm.
She has a body that is so large
Hmm.
that you have to have amazing chakra control to even summon her to begin with. And the person that inherits that amazing summon is Sakura, an average ninja who worked her butt off to get to that point. We even see her work like the entire idea of her being useless and not contributing to the team at this point in time just completely blows my mind when people say that, because even when Naruto was training to use the wind shuriken
Hmm.
jutsu, she was there on the sideline, not only making food pills to support Naruto's development, but also working on her development at the same time. She wasn't even a burden during the bridge incident against Orochimaru. She didn't even want to tell Naruto that he was the one that hurt her, because she didn't want to seem like that she was being a burden, because she got hurt trying to protect her team.
Yeah,
And
no,
then
we need to call a spade on that. Naruto's the one that caused that to kind of go off kilter because he lost control.
he lost control. And
Yeah,
then on top of that, too, you had Yamato, who just inherited that team.
yeah.
And then it doesn't help that Sai was not a team player at all, bro. Just on a side note, that scene of Sakura falling and then Sai gassing
Yeah,
her up, that is ruthless.
it's
That was
cold blooded.
downright
Yeah,
cold, bro. So
you just gave me an idea for the TikTok. Ooh,
dog, dog. That that was tragic. I'm like,
yeah,
hold on, they ain't gonna do my girl like this. So she was just in a bad situation to begin with there, and then progressing a little bit through more Shippuden before we wrap it back around to the war. People like to give her crap for the confession, right?
hmm,
That she telling Naruto, "I love you." I think what's highly missed in that little section is that Naruto had just got done defeating Pain. He had just beat Pain. He is now going. It's post Pain. He's having mental breakdowns about Sasuke.
yeah. That
Sasuke
man
is
had a
a
whole panic
fool,
attack. Oh my god!
bruh.
Don't get me
Panic.
started on that.
The
Don't get.
man that
Oh,
defeated. That's a whole other podcast.
yeah,
So that's going on. Sasuke is a full blown traitor. He is trying to assassinate the other Kage, not Naruto, Sakura. And they know that she loves this man. Is not only willing to meet with her fellow other Guinean at the time, who are now Chunin, to come to the conclusion that they have to kill their friend. She was protecting Naruto's feelings at that point in time.
yeah.
I don't. When she said Naruto, I love you, actually, she meant that. She wasn't lying about the love. She does love Naruto as a brother. She does.
Man
Loves
said
him
as a brother.
as a brother. Loves him so much that she doesn't want to see him continuously risk himself anymore in this fruitless, or what seemed fruitless, mission to bring Sasuke back, right?
Yeah,
And on top of that, when they finally do meet up with Sasuke, look, she was gonna die, but she at least had the resolve to try to hit the man with a kunai and try to at least take him out, or at
yeah.
least turncoat with him and leave. She had resolve. She really did, and I think the only hit that ever goes against her is that she was a woman in love, and it's really hard to navigate complex emotions like love. It's not straightforward,
Yeah.
and you can't fault her for something that Naruto was doing himself.
No, and
Naruto was
you make a really fair point because like I have been one that has not been fair to her as it pertains to that. That
Mhm,
was that was probably like my biggest critical point of her is her, continuing to love Sasuke even though he
mhm.
is like, almost killed her like twice. you
Yeah,
know, um and I just at that point like could not get down with the fact that that was where things had went, but also it's not just Sakura that is having these emotions for Sasuke and sort of forgiving him and trying to bring him back, but Naruto is completely on a further path of that in my opinion because he went fisticuffs with him while he was actively trying to kill him, lost an arm and all of that, and still called that man brother. You know,
yep.
and that's something that again we have to be fair with as a fan base. We cannot see things with a certain lens and not call a spade a spade. If you're going to criticize, Sakura for her love for Sasuke and the fact that she married him, which I think has become fruitful in the story, like as continues. But we're not talking about Boruto, but it does end up bearing fruit.
Mhm.
But you have to if you're not going to criticize Naruto, then you should not criticize her because it makes sense. It's that Naruto actually went further than she did in terms of trying to get him back. She essentially knew her limitations. She tried to push past them, and in a moment almost got killed. Sasuke
And
would have ended up like probably regretting that in the end. But no, you're absolutely right.
absolutely. I mean, Sasuke was a confused. Sasuke was so confused throughout that entire post Itachi
Yeah.
spread of Naruto. He was so confused that, and then and Naruto was just completely beside himself. That it kind of looks like that the only person who had somewhat of a little bit of common sense laid out was her.
No,
That,
I think so too. I think so too. Even though she had resolved to kill him, in the
Mhm.
end, it ended up working out. Because Naruto, even though he had a resolve to save him, which was right, because even their own, sensei, Kakashi was about to make look. Kakashi was like, "Oh, he got to go." Um, but in a way, she was trying to do what they thought was the right thing, and just like I said, in the end, she couldn't do it, and she was essentially going to allow herself to just be killed by him, until Naruto came and really saved the day. But yeah, but you know, I think we have really touched on like as much as we could from like Naruto to Shippuden.
Mhm.
Essentially, just like everything, fitting it into an hour, a little bit hour plus of just information about her. That really solidifies like from an all nerd everything ascended nerd, standpoint. She's not useless.
No,
It,
no,
you
she's not.
Um, I don't really have anything else to add to it. I wanted to have this podcast, and I know you really wanted to have this podcast. Because like I said, we went into the Discord and you were saying like I have this thought piece, I'm gonna put it out there. And it really, like I said, it just being full disclosure for everybody. Plus, if you join our Discord, you'll be able to see the conversation anyway. I did have a rebuttal, and my initial thoughts was reactionary, not a disrespectful reactionary, but more me sticking to my original guns. But I am someone who will reread and think about something that somebody tells me. So even if I initially come from a standpoint, I'll think about something that somebody says. And so what John really put out there kind of marinated with me, even to the point of funny enough, there was a TikTok that one of our admins made that was kind of poking fun at Sakura, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of felt uncomfortable putting that out there because it really wasn't where my true heart of where I am with her right now, and so people
Mhm.
were making comments, and it was kind of like, dang, like I don't really know what to say, like because you're making content that people are going to react to, but you're not necessarily trying to be nasty, though some people kind of take it that way. Um,
Right.
but I can honestly say that through this discussion, it has really changed my perspective of her. Now, there are still things that I do hold critical of Sakura, which, her emotions kind of getting the best of her at different times. I think that's a fair criticism to have of her, and
Mhm.
knowing when to appropriately have those emotions serve her versus when they're hindering her.
Mhm.
But other than that, like I really think that we fault her too much for her self-awareness, because the worst thing that you can have, like we talked about this in the other podcast, is someone like a Sasuke who kept putting himself in situations that was above his pay grade, because he was not self-aware. um he was
Oh
too,
boy.
yeah, he was too full of himself to the point where I mean, think about it like this. I need the audience to really think about it like this. Sasuke was such above his pay grade that he needed something that was unnatural to him to push him into a further realm of power just to keep up with where things were. Where Naruto, even though we can make the argument that the Fox chakra pool is like, kind of what pushes Naruto, but like just base level with their own chakra pools, like Naruto was above Sasuke, and Sasuke just did not have it. He had to rely on something that kind of made him sort of evil to even push back past certain points that Naruto did not need. You know,
If you want to see it the best, it's my favorite reaction. Go look at Naruto's Ninja Handbook. When Naruto summoned Gamabuta,
Mm-hmm.
and Sasuke was sitting on that branch with his mouth open. Like,
Yep.
when did he learn how to use summons?
Yep.
That episode alone shows you just how much further Naruto had already surpassed Sasuke. I mean, think about it like this: Sasuke showed up late to the tuning exams to train for over a month to use a move that only made Gara more upset. They had the whole tuning exams in a chokehold. That man showed up with that. He thought he was him when
Yeah,
he had that all black on.
he did.
Boy, he showed up, made Gara upset, had him activate the invasion early,
Yeah.
just so Naruto can show up. Bruh, Naruto
Mm.
showed up to that fight late, tired, showed up, was like, man, I gotta save my friends. Let me summon 1,000 shadow clones, hit him with a lion's barrage, 1,000 years of death. Man, I'm running out of my own chakra. Let me go ahead and summon Gamabuta to the battlefield. And on top of that, I'm gonna just show off a little bit more. I'm gonna hit y'all with the nice Fox illusion jutsu on top of my summon. Sasuke couldn't compete at that time frame if he wanted to.
Yeah.
There was nothing Sasuke could do to keep up with Naruto at that point in time, and that was just him using his Uzumaki bloodline.
Yeah.
That wasn't even really even getting into the Fox. And so for Naruto to outpass Sasuke that much at that point in time, you have to adjust your expectations for someone like Sakura
Yeah.
at that early stage of development.
Yeah.
You have to adjust your
Yeah.
expectations. There's no way she was going to be keeping up, let alone with them. Then on top of that, when Jiraiya now teaches Naruto how to control his chakra, there's just no way.
Yeah.
And that's what, and to wrap up, the conversation, go back to where we started at. That's Sakura's job in the story. She is the balance. She is the counterbalance. She is the reminder that hold on. She is progressing at the rate of a average ninja who has talent, who is now coming into their own, versus Sasuke and Naruto, who are going to be that regardless.
Yeah.
They were getting power ups until the last moment of the show.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
especially at the end, like
yeah.
that whole six paths thing was just, I mean, it was exciting to see and whatnot, but good lord, man, like
Another power up.
yeah,
Like,
it was like whoa, because they got washed and then came back and was like, "What's up?"
something that I will end with, want to tease the audience with. I believe the next podcast I want to have is around everybody's favorite character, Rock Lee.
Okay.
To let people know where I'm thinking at with this next time we discuss Naruto is that I think Rock Lee, as lovable of a character as he is, I don't think the criticisms are there enough. The way you describe Sasuke as being ahead of his pay grade
Mm,
and being well outmatched,
mm-hmm.
I think that's something that's overlooked with Rock Lee. I don't think
Okay.
certain things were picked up with Rock Lee, and I'll save it for when we do the podcast, like his cockiness, rushing into battle too fast, literally blowing everything that made him great in these early scenes to prove a point that wasn't his destiny to prove.
Yeah. Nah,
And
that's
and I
fair.
think and I think that I want to save that the rest of my thought
Yeah,
for we
I'm
do a
because I
podcast.
literally had
But
a yeah, I literally had a thought too, and I was like, nah, let's save it. Let's save it.
yeah,
Let's save
we're
it.
gonna save it. But yeah, that's what we want to tease you guys with. Is that I think the next character profile that we're gonna go over and kind of dissect and break down. And we're not trying to try. We're not gonna be trashing Rock Lee, but I do want to add another perspective to his character. And yeah, I think that we'll say that for next time. And man, it's a pleasure, man. I love talking and doing these podcasts with you.
Oh, no
It's
problem, man.
meditative in a certain way.
No, no problem, man. I enjoy this conversation because, unbeknownst to the audience, like we're actually preparing for these and in times past, like we kind of just naturally flow through conversation, but like this is something that we've been studying. This is something that, we've come to, consensus on. All right, these are the topics that we're going to, kind of come forward with. So like
Mhm.
feeling it come together is just like an amazing feeling, man. So the feeling is mutual. I appreciate it so much. I hope the audience appreciates it and really supports this and gives us feedback based on what they're hearing and everything. Um, but yeah, man, like I don't have anything else. Is there any, final thoughts you got, just closing us out, or, you good to go?
No, last thought I have is just make sure if you guys enjoyed the discussion that's going over here on All Nerd Everything, make sure you turn that subscribe button on, go ahead and click it, turn the alerts on, and we're going to be consistent with the content. And we hope that you keep up following us and thank you for listening.
All right, you guys, you heard the man. Talk to y'all later. Peace out.
Peace out.